Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. Thanks for watching. We are in Austin, Texas this week at IT Expo West 2011, and our program is Russ Green, the SVP of Marketing and Product Management at VPI Systems. Russ, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rich. Looking forward to a good one.
So tell me a little bit about your company, please.
Basically, Rich, we provide software, licensed software, and it's in the OSS space. And essentially what our focus is on providing solutions that allow operators to anticipate problems driven either by subscribers, services, or the network itself, and deal with them before they happen. So basically capacity analysis and congestion analysis.
Now, let's talk about that a little bit. Some of the places that you would imagine such a capacity issue would take place would be a stadium, a flash mob, I guess. Right? You've got these Twitter meetups, things like that. Are those likely scenarios?
Well, actually, that's part of it. It turns out that a lot of operators have got pretty good solutions for that in place already, and I'll give you a couple of examples. One of our customers knows that the first big game, the first big NFL game of the season, it doesn't matter what you do, nobody's going to be able to get any signals out of them. People tend to be aware of those types of issues, or those are extreme events. What we're more focused on is what has been an extremely difficult problem for operators. For example, there's a launch of a new super phone coming out, super smartphone, or the iPhone 5 coming out. Typically, the engineering and network parts of the organization get a very short lead time on knowing what's going to come. And it's often the case that the way these organizations work is that the RF guys aren't always talking to the RAN guys, they're not talking to the IP and the backhaul and all the rest of it. And so everybody tries to do their best with a slightly different view of what's going to happen, and in the end there are issues at launch. So essentially what we do is provide an environment where all of these sort of work together, and we drive the whole thing from looking at the handsets coming in, the subscriber uptake, and the services that they drive, and make it a much more cohesive environment for them to do sensitivity analysis and what if. Typically what happens with these operators is that they will have to look at what happens if this new phone is going to have an uptake at X or 2X or 10X, and what's going to break first in the network. We allow that sort of rapid what if analysis and capacity view.
And then how do they solve those problems once they've determined them?
Well, there are basically three timescales that we look at. One is the longer term, which is, say in 6 months' time, we know there's going to be an issue if our subscriber is going to grow at this space. So we need to be investing in this part of the network, or most optimally this. Secondly, in the shorter term, there are already congestion issues happening in this part of the network. What reconfiguration options do we have in the network? We provide a lot of wizards and assistants that say, based on handovers or whatever it may be, this is the most efficient way of you using your assets now. And one of our newest solutions really looks at an extremely short-term solution view of the network, which is based on the way that the network has been operating, and we've got a good view of essentially subscriber activity. Where and when are you going to have major issues tomorrow? And then using traffic management, for example, subscriber policy-based constraints and diversions to deal with that.
Now, in terms of the evolution of the wireless space in the last 2-3 years, obviously we know devices are getting more powerful. We know that consumers are demanding more data. But what other trends, if any, are you seeing out there?
I think those are the main trends. But essentially, what those have meant is that if we were having this conversation 15 years ago about the mobile network, we'd be complaining about drop calls and all this sort of things. And essentially, the operators have become extremely good at voice. They're very well understood bands and limits within which you have to live. 3%, 5% call blocking basically takes care of a network. There is no equivalent on the data side. And with this growth of data, be it mobile, video, multimedia, whatever it is, it's becoming a much more a very extreme problem, just because of the how much additional capacity operators can afford to put in place. They're running on much thinner capacity margins. So it's basically trying to get to grips with what really is a healthy network.
So there is a carrier. I mean, I know you probably can't comment on this because even if this is your customer, maybe you can't comment directly, but I'm going to throw it out there. But one of the reasons why AT&T is negotiating back and forth with the DOJ right now is because essentially what they're saying is they're going to soon run out of capacity, and T-Mobile's capacity is going to help them expand. And so I imagine that a company like AT&T would be running sophisticated models. Not that it takes a brain surgeon to realize that, I don't know why I use the expression brain surgeon. Maybe a rocket scientist would be the more appropriate kind of advanced degree for this particular analogy, to understand the limits of your network and the fact that your data capacity is getting eaten up by devices like iPads and other tablets, right? So I mean, that's a kind of analysis that they would have to do to make that kind of determination, right?
Absolutely. So I think there are actually two aspects of that. Certainly, with the merging of those two environments, all of the cost efficiencies and things that those operators have promised are clearly good candidates for the type of solution that we offer. I think, though, that the prime reason why that they've been pushing this is essentially a spectrum thing. And the one solution that I was talking about, the very short-term congestion thing, we can help there. But they're really talking about a long-term growth of the whole thing. But yeah, in both environments, this is an environment where we are very well suited to help.
And what's next for your company?
Rich, I think as everybody is well aware of, it's 4G now. LTE is the big story, and we all know that while there have been a few companies jumping into it very quickly, it's going to take a little while to get going, and there's going to be a long-term coexistence between 3G and 4G. So we're looking at basically helping operators deal with that. What is the most efficient way of investing and dealing with the coexistence of those technologies? On the other side, as well as that, we are looking to do more in the control space. We found that this proactive RAN congestion that we're looking at is getting a lot of traction. Everybody's having to deal with this issue, so we're going to be looking at more solutions related to that in different parts of the network.
Great. Well, thanks for being on the program, Russ. It was great.
Thanks for having us, Rich.